I think there's so much bitterness in Washington towards Syria. And the official reason is they say, the Syrian government committed war crimes and atrocities. No, the real reason is that the Syrian government defeated the most well-armed insurgency in history. And that really angered neoconservatives in Washington and elsewhere, who figured that they'd have another quote-unquote victory like they did in Libya and Iraq. And Syria fought back with the help of its allies, and that humiliated people who are bent on dominating Syria and turning it into another colony in the Middle East. And so when you hear U.S. officials and U.S. politicians like Jim Risch, he's a senator, very influential on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and his close partner, Robert Menendez, this is a Democrat and a Republican, they speak with such bitterness about Syria and how they want all this to continue because Syria has to pay the price for daring to defeat the insurgency that we funded. So I'm very, I hope, of course, that the sanctions will be lifted permanently, but up until this point, there was no appetite at all for any lifting of the sanctions. Blinken said that there can be no reconstruction of Syria. He said that not long ago. That was official U.S. policy. So I don't want to underestimate how sadistic U.S. leaders are. And, in justifying U.S. policy, Ned Price, who's a State Department spokesperson, said, how can we normalize with a country that gasses its own people, right? And that shows right there the purpose of these chemical weapons allegations in Syria that we've gotten, that this government is so diabolical, it gasses its own people. How can we possibly deal with it? Now, of course, as I've tried to do, is show that all these chemical weapons claims that have been lodged against the Syrian government, Ghouta 2013, Khan Sheikhoun 2017, Duma 2018, that all of them are based on fraud. And their purpose is to justify sadism and to actually commit more atrocities against the Syrian people, not stop them. Because to sell it to a public that, this is why we have to cut off food to civilians, is because their government is so sadistic that they gas their own people. So we can't possibly deal with them. Just as we were told we had to invade Iraq because they have weapons of mass destruction. It's that playbook again here. And that's why the OPCW scandal has to be buried, because these OPCW leaks showing that the OPCW covered up its own investigation after that investigation found no evidence that Syria used chemical weapons in Duma, that is so damning to the narrative that is required to sustain sanctions and warmongering that has to be silenced. And that's why there's been such an effort to bury that scandal.